Everybody's just drunk and throwing mini trash cans.
Hopefully they put. What if they put their beer in the trash can, then they throw it?
Oh shit.
Okay, we went way off left.
Yeah. Too much pot tar.
way too much pot tar.
Welcome to another episode of Too Much Pod Tar as we continue our 30 teams and 30 pods with the White Sox. And I have on two guests with me, Joey Ricotta, who I've on this podcast before from the Score Pro, and another Alex Rude from, well, not from anything, but he's a White Sox fan. So welcome to the show, guys. And guys, ready to talk some White Sox?
Very exciting times.
Yeah. What's up, Alex? Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Again, as always.
Yeah, good to have you back.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been since like one of the episodes from last year.
I know, man. It sucks. Like, I know you guys try to do a lot during the week and on Sundays and stuff, and I just haven't had the time lately. And then I like chilling on my Sundays for the most part, but I'm like, you know what? You're doing the White Sox, and that's a very intriguing one to me. And I was like, nah, I'm getting on this Sunday. I don't care.
All right. Yeah, so White Sox last season, they finished decent. They finished third in the AL Central, 72 wins. So nothing terrible because, they're a rebuilding team. But then this year, now their expectations are through the roof. A lot of people are even picking them to win the division. So, let's start off with just kind of recapping last year, 2019. So I'll start with you, Alex. What did you bring from the season that was like positive? What kind of went wrong? What were some of the things that you took
from last year?
Yeah.
I personally, I think last season was as good as you could hope for with all the young members of the core. First getting playing time and more experience in the big leagues. The emergence of Giolito and Moncada finally living up to their potential. It was huge after both of their poor 2018s. But injuries derailed the team after the All-Star break. And that's when you led to the guys such as Ryan Goins getting everyday playing time or A.J. Reed. But speaking of the guys like Goins and A.J. Reed, the 2019 White Sox truly were stars and scrubs. You had your 5 good core players in the lineup, but after that, it was 4 automatic outs every day. And the guys that did the performed. So it's take away into the future.
Yeah, I would have to agree with all that. It's pretty much what you wanted it to be, like from the main guys that you were looking to bounce back or just kind of, improve, or like they're getting their first taste of the big leagues for some of them. But like Aloy. But it's the injuries obviously hurt a little bit. You got the overall pitching. Hitting this is just from the entire team, I guess, the stats, but you were in the bottom third of a lot of categories. So on base percentage, OPS, WOBA, strikeout percentage, walk percentage, bottom third in all those categories, and then sixth fewest home runs, obviously. So, a lot of that can attribute to like what he said. You got guys like Ryan Goins getting playing time. So, can't look at it as like it really is what it was supposed to be. It wasn't really for last year. It wasn't supposed to be a winning season. So the things that went wrong were pretty much expected for the most part.
So, yeah, to build off that, the struggles with the hitting has been a common thing under the Todd Severson hitting coach term when he was hired in, I think, 2014 or 2015. The highest they've been in on-base percentage was 11th in the American League. So this past fall, they fired him finally. So hopefully that, coupled with other additions that they've made this offseason will lead to improvements throughout on the offensive side, because it was brutal to watch at times.
Oh, definitely. What was the new hire? He came in through the system, right? Is that Menachino, or how do you say his name?
Kino, he actually was the Marlins hitting coach for a while. He was the hitting coach in 2017 when guys like Ozuna had their breakout seasons, Sten as well.
Nice. I think, and he's got a read on these younger players too, which is nice. Because they came up and obviously worked with them already. So
and everyone that worked with him, it just says nothing but great things about Menachino. So at least
that's definitely a positive, because he knows the guy's swings too.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows what he's looking at before spring training even. Yeah. I mean, obviously, they look at film and stuff like that, and you get a read on guys, even if you're outside of the organization. But just having that experience and then the one-on-one time with them already, I think that's a big plus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I just have something else to add with as far as the hitting goes. One of their biggest failures of the season was, picking up Yonder Alonso, and they did that to try to get Manny Machado there, and that obviously that we all know that didn't work out. So obviously Alonso was designated assignment before the All-Star break even, so that clearly didn't work out.
Yeah, that was a lure move to him and even John Jay. Really, it was we're gonna get the brother-in-law and the cousin, or whatever it was, to kind of, which and then they had high hopes for those guys too, or not high hopes, I wouldn't say, but there were some positive things, like with Yonder with his launch angle and things that they thought that he would kind of continue with, which he just didn't. And that turned out to be a bust. But like with John Jay, he's always been a solid contact hitter, and he wasn't bad. He wasn't. Mm-hmm. He was what he really is for the most part. He's just a contact hitter that is solid. He's just nothing special.
Oh yeah, and building off of Jay, he was hurt the entire year. It came out after the season. He was never fully recovered from his injury. So
yeah, that's big then. Yeah, and he missed how much time did he miss to begin the season too?
He started, I believe, our series against the Red Sox after the All-Star break when Anderson got hurt. He only played like 45 games this past season before they shut down when the injury got too much.
Yeah, you can't expect much from him then at that point.
Let's move on forward to this offseason. They've kind of, as we talked about before the show, me and Alex, kind of addition by subtraction. They got rid of a lot of the guys that gave them gave them negativity last year in the season. They're also just getting good free agents this year. They started off getting Grandal, Yasmani Grandal, the number one free agent catcher. That was definitely a big move for them. And Dallas Keuchel and Gio Gonzalez, those are some of the big names. So,
to build off your point of addition by subtraction, since I'm sure your general audience didn't watch Sox games every day and knew how bad these players are, the Daniel Palka, Yonder Alonso, John Jay, Jose Rondon, Matt Skoll, AJ Reed, Nicky Delmonico, and Wellington Castillo, all guys that are gone, combined for a -7 F4 last year.
Wow.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's fucking brutal.
So,
excuse my language.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
So the additions, what people may just look at the value added of the players by themselves in a vacuum. You got to realize how important these additions are because of how bad the guys they are replacing actually were.
Yeah, right.
And as far as the going addition by addition, I'll try and go chronological, Grandal was huge. It was a great start to the offseason. He's someone I personally wanted for a long time, but the qualifying offer last year made his market kind of meh. So the start the offseason with just basically a bang with nobody reporting that, just to have the press release come out for Grandal's signing, it was huge. Just gets the offseason off on a right start. Then Nomar Mazara, he's probably the one acquisition from the offseason that most Sox fans are just iffy on because he's someone that, as Rick Hahn said, just a bunch of untapped potential. So it's just made it seem like they were punting on right field for another year. So we'll have to see how that works out. And they probably still need to add a platoon partner for him because he can only really hit righties. Keuchel was great. He's a good veteran leader for the rotation. A lot of people said it was an overpay, but not really. Money doesn't really matter when most of your rosters on arbitration or will be in pre-arb for the length of his contract. Edwin is great. I personally love this signing just because he's someone that adds an automatic thump to the lineup. The White Sox DH last year was historically one of the worst positions ever in baseball when it came to offensive production. And to have someone come in that's hit 30 home runs each of the last 8 years is a huge, huge upgrade. Not to mention the ability to mentor guys like Eloy, because I don't know about most other Sox fans, but if Eloy can turn into an Edwin hitting 30 home runs every year, that sounds like perfect to me. And then lastly, it was Steve Cishek. Talking to my Cubs fans friends, it seems like Madden really wore his arm into the ground the past 2 years, but he's been someone that's been super reliable. So bullpen was a big question mark for the White Sox going forward because outside of Bummer, Colome, and Marshall, there wasn't really much stability in the bullpen last year. So adding at least one more stable arm to that bullpen is something that they needed to do, and they got it done.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with all that, really. It's just, in Cishek, and, you want to ask another Cubs fan, Madden definitely did run him into the ground, and that's because the Bulls, damn it, the Cubs, the Cubs had nobody else. So I'm talking. I said Bulls because the Bulls are terrible right now too. So when I think of bad things, then I think of the Bulls with Chicago sports. But no, with Madden, he ran him into the ground because the Cubs just had nobody. But Cishek was the one guy, and over the last couple of years, and he's been that guy, Mr. Reliable. He's not going to miss many bats, but he is what he is. He's going to provide you solid innings, and try to induce some ground balls, and he'll get out of some messes that way too. Which when you need a strikeout, wouldn't rely on him. But that's what you got some other guys for, and you mentioned them, Marshall, Bummer, guys like that. And Jace Fry, I really like Jace Fry against lefties at least. He was just really solid last year. I mean, against righties, he wasn't great. I think his ERA overall wasn't too great either. But
last year was a down year for him. He had a really, really great 18. So the hope is that he can just bounce back to his 2018 form.
Yeah, definitely. And even if he's used like situationally, the only thing is with that batter minimum, that's going to be the big thing this year with a lot of teams. I mean, we've already talked about it, like in the Scorecrow group chats and stuff like that with me and Alex and stuff, but and the other guys. But like he dominated lefties last year. Like he gave up 0 home runs, and he had a 193 batting average against lefties. So if he could somehow find, because the American League is different than the National League, where obviously they're not pinch hitting as much, as they are in the National League. So you don't have to worry about, if you can find lineups where, maybe you're okay with facing that righty for him, but we want to deal with these two lefties that are sandwiched around him. then I think that's perfect for him. And I think really they do have a solid bullpen. But like when it comes to the additions, we'll see if Kyle May. Well, it's not an addition, but just to finish that thought, we'll see if Kyle May can pitch how he did earlier in the season and not kind of tail off how he kind of did. But I think he'll be okay. But Grandal, I mean, yeah, you're getting the best catcher in the league, or one of the best catchers in the league. I shouldn't say the best catcher in the league, but I mean, he really is one of the best catchers in the league. One of the top three, I think, in my opinion. And even defensively, his framework, throws guys out, calls a good game. He gives you with the bat. Keuchel, he's going to give you a lot of ground balls, pitch to contact guy, but and that's another thing that you got to worry about with the left side of the infield. Like with guys like Tim Anderson playing shortstop, because he's going to give you a lot of ground balls over there, and I think Anderson needs to do a better job of fielding that position. And if he can do that, if he can improve there, I think they're well on their way. Because Keuchel, he's going to give you that 3.8 ERA or whatever, with a lot of ground balls and keep you in ball games. But and you touched on all the other guys like the Parrot. I mean, who doesn't like the freaking Parrot? Encarnacion, like that he's just cool, man, and he's gonna smash. He's just a hitter. Gio, like you'll see what you get with Gio Gonzalez, but he's probably that long guy. But then you're gonna have the comeback guys, like speaking of additions, like we'll probably get to these guys in a minute, but with the pitching staff, he probably won't be in the rotation very long. Is how I'm kind of looking at it. He probably will be that kind of that stretch arm in the bullpen because he can face lefties and righties because he's used to being a starter for so long. I feel like he is going to be kind of that long man eventually, but I don't know. I'm higher on Mazzara than a lot of Sox fans, I think, and maybe it's just the fact that he's got a little bit of untapped. There's something there with him. I mean, last year his hard hit percentage wasn't anything special or anything like that. I mean, he wasn't a guy that. And you're right. He sucks against lefties, or at least that's what he's shown. He's really bad against lefties, but he does hit righties. And 3 straight years he hit 20 home runs, and he almost hit 20 last year. He hit 19. So, if he can get.
For me with Mazzara, my biggest hope for him having one of those change of scenery like turnarounds is that in Texas he was hitting like 3, 4, 5. He had expectations to be a producer, whereas upcoming next year he's probably going to be hitting 7 or 8 every day he plays, so he won't have to deal with the pressure of trying to drive in runs every time, and he has a very deep lineup around him.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And that's the thing. You like you said, yeah, you get rid of that pressure. He just doesn't have to. He's not relied upon. I mean, the Rangers are a pretty decent lineup, especially if you look at them this year. I think they're getting better, but like his hard hit rate, like in 2018, 17, like those are good numbers. Yeah. Like it really was just last year where it just wasn't really, it wasn't as good as it had been. And that's why I think the Rangers thought that he would kind of take that next step, and he didn't. But, it's not like the Rangers park is a bad hitter's park. It's still a good hitter's, decent hitter's park, or it has been. This year we don't know because they're getting the new one. But, obviously Chicago, it's not. It's a pretty good hitter's park for the most part. I wanted to say the South for a minute. Guaranteed rate. It's still guaranteed rate, right? They didn't change it this year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But yeah, I know they changed the name so freaking much, but no, I think he'll be okay. Like especially if you use him in that like platoon role. I know there's still talk about them potentially getting another outfielder, a righty, like an Ozuna or a Castellanos or Puig or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't really see that happening. I kind of feel like they're gonna because you got Robert too, which I mean, he's not going to be in right. He's going to be in center. But Robert, excuse me.
Yeah, I was just saying.
But he, I don't know. They changed the name with him, so it's not changed the name, but then you find out how he wants to be called, and then you heard how people were calling him. But anyways, um, no, I think, yeah, I don't think you need to get too much production out of that spot is all. I think with the way the rest of the lineup is constructed, I think it's going to come down to pitching. I
Yeah,
really do. I think their hitting's going to be fine.
100% agree. And to touch on the three outfielders that you mentioned, Puig, I can't really see happening because he has worse lefty splits than both Leori Garcia and Adam Engel, who are both currently on the roster the past 3 years.
Yeah.
And Ozuna and Castellanos, I ruled them out a couple of weeks ago, but as time goes on, it may be possible that as their value keeps going down, you might be able to scoop in and get them on a cheaper deal. But I'd still put the odds of either one of those happening at like less than 5%.
Excuse me.
I think they're just going to go with Leori Garcia, who's shown he's been competent against lefties. Just use the in-house option.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and they still have guys that are coming through the system too, like other guys, like potentially down the line. I mean, I'm not saying this year, but Micker, he looked pretty okay. When I was looking at something today, and they were saying that his swing's looking pretty good.
Yeah, Adolfo, he has great power, wonderful power, but his big issue that he strikes out a bunch.
Yeah.
So it took a while for him to figure that out. Of all the outfielders that they have in the system, it seemed like every single one of them hit a wall last year in Double-A. So of the ones we have in the system, personally, I think Luis Basabe, who was the third piece in the Chris Sale trade that got us Kopech and Moncada, he's probably the only one that can maybe make it to the big leagues, but I'm sure right field will be addressed next offseason. Offseason as a whole, for the major league additions, if I were to give it a grade, it'd probably be a B+ or so. It's as solid as you can be. You filled all the holes in the roster. At the end of the season press conference, Han said he wanted to go get a right fielder, a DH, and 2 starting pitchers. He did that.
Yeah.
Still to do, I think they should sign a veteran second baseman like a Brian Dozier to at least cover second base until Madrigal's ready, who we'll touch about. I'm sure we'll touch up on later when we're talking about prospects. But other than that, it's as good as you could have hoped for.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with all that.
You think I'll go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I definitely agree with that. It's because they did everything they said they were gonna do. They got the pitching, they got the bullpen, they got the outfielder. So definitely a solid offseason. I'd probably say the same thing around B+ offseason. So go ahead, Joey.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, 100%. It's a B+ because, as much as the Sox fans might have wanted more from right field, if that might not happen this year, they did everything else. I mean, they really did. You didn't get a big ace type of pitcher, but you got 2. You got 2 pitchers and one really. I think he's underrated now at this point, I would say, because he's never going to be. He's not Cy Young level Keuchel. He's pitch to contact, ground ball level Keuchel, but that's pretty big. And then I was going to ask about second base. Like, you think Luis Garcia? I think he's, for the most part, he's probably going to play second until Madrigal gets there, right?
As of how the roster's constructed right now, yes. But there's been some rumblings around White Sox Twitter that they've been in contact with veteran second basemen like the Dozier I've mentioned. So if they do end up signing a veteran second baseman, the veteran will obviously start opening day, and then you'll have Garcia in right whenever they're facing a lefty. Because
Gotcha.
Leary was solid last year, but he's just not an everyday starter. He's a great utility guy, and that should be his role on any team moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And the good thing about him is he's got a decent enough glove, and he's got some wheels. He
Yeah.
gives you a little bit of stolen base and batting average. So you could do a lot worse. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Talk about some of the prospects that will be coming up next year. Now, as you mentioned, Madrigal, and Joey, you said about Vaughn, and Vaughn won't be up next year probably, but maybe he will at the end of the year, but definitely not right away. And we also talked about Robert already, Luis Robert, and he'd probably be up right away with the way it's going. He'll be the center fielder, and he's there, obviously the number one prospect. He's definitely something exciting to keep an eye on.
Oh yeah, 100% agree. And I think the additions via prospects is another part of the offseason.
Yeah,
you could really add it because you got Robert will be there opening day. Madrigal, I'm not sure about. He probably won't be. I know there's a lot of White Sox fans that really want him there, but for me personally, I want to see how he does in spring training against actual major league pitching before making a judgment, because there's a huge jump from AAA to major league pitching. And then you also gotta have Kopech coming back from the Tommy John. That's another interesting thing, probably more interesting of whether Madrigal is on the opening day roster is what they plan to do with Kopech, because with all those signings now, you don't really need to rush them and start them in the big leagues opening day and have them ease into it. So because he's going to be on a pitching innings limit, so you don't have a Strasburg issue later in the season when it's contention time and you have to shut down one of your best pitchers. Because personally, in my opinion, Kopech has potential to be an ace, if not number 2 behind Giolito for the near future. So it's really going to be interesting to see whether they start him in AAA or on the big league roster. And then from guys that won't be in the majors next year, as you touched on, is Andrew Vaughn, who's I personally is one of my favorites. I think he's going to be a stud. He has the potential to be a 300 average hitter and 30 home runs every year. And beyond that, we already talked about Basabe and Adolfo. And then a couple under the radar guys that I think keep an eye out on is Jonathan Stever, who was a pitcher at Double-A last year. He's probably going to be creeping up and probably will be on the top 100 prospects list at some point this year. With him, he just needs to develop his off-speed pitches. He has one heck of a fastball right now, but the question is if he can develop his off-speed pitches or not to determine whether his ceiling would be a starter or someone that can be an effective end of the bullpen closer guy. And beyond that, you had your international signings of Gilbert Sanchez and Benjamin Bailey, both who were killing it in the DSL last year and will probably be making their debuts in American minor league ball this year. So I'm interested to see how they do adjusting. And then really, really under the radar, personally, guy from last draft class I love is DJ Gladney. He's a local kid. He's a product of the White Sox ACE program, which is a program for kids in the South Side underprivileged area that allowed them to play baseball in high school. Last year, after getting drafted in the rookie league, he hit 5 home runs before he even turned 18 years old. Everyone, all the scouts and anyone I've talked to can't stop talking about his insane power. I was talking to someone earlier. They said his tools, once he fully develops, because he's very raw, he started playing baseball late. He just turned 18. He has potential to be a 65 power, 50 hit, 50 speed, 55 arm, 50 defender. So if he can hit his strides and develop over the next couple of years, he's someone that could easily be a solid contributor on a championship team moving forward.
Yeah, definitely interesting. One thing that's interesting about Vaughn is, the White Sox were signed Abreu to another 3 years this offseason. So I guess I would say they're probably going to end up potentially giving Vaughn a shot, next year or the year after, and then I guess kind of pushing Abreu out the door at that point. Once Vaughn's ready, it'll be when Abreu is finished. So
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. I think I agree with you on that, but I think Abreu's kind of that guy that just he wanted to be here
yeah,
for the time when they win too, and I think that, and that's why I don't know if Vaughn's coming up this year. I don't think he is, but
Yeah.
like he's pretty ready though. Like as far as like an advanced hitter, I think he might be the most, even though he hasn't even been in the minors yet, really. Um, as far as like the other, compared to the other guys, like he hasn't really had any experience. He's just fresh out of college, but he just seems like the most advanced hitter out of all the prospects that won't be there this year.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
I think Jim Callis of MLB Pipeline released a preview and rankings of all the first base prospects, and the wording that was used, he's the best first base prospect since Bellinger. Just to see.
Yeah.
Second highest rated since 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, behind Bellinger. You're right. Yeah.
So with Vaughn, the highest he got to last year was high A, and you could tell over the season that fatigue set in from playing college ball, rookie ball, low A, high A. So I'm sure they'll take his time this year, see how far he can progress through double A and triple A, and then next offseason decision time will come, because probably the main reason they have an option in Edwin's contract is to see if in case of Vaughn isn't ready to go 2021. But if he comes anywhere close to meeting expectations, he'll be on the roster in 2021. I just can't see any situation where he makes it in 2020, barring a lot of bad injuries.
Yeah, I definitely agree with
that. Some other guys though to look at too. We talk about Kopech, and Kopech was already, I think he was touching 99.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be. I don't. He's not far away. Like you said, if he doesn't start at the big league level, he's gonna be there. It's not long after that, but it takes guys a while to adjust. With the Tommy John surgery and all that, finding the confidence, and you gotta find control. You gotta relearn everything almost to a certain extent. But
even before surgery, Kopech's biggest issue was command and control. Sorry to cut you off there. So if he can figure that out, then watch out. But I'm sure they'll let him take his time. No need to rush it.
Mm-hmm. All right. The other guy that I'm interested in too, another TJ guy, Dane Dunning.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see.
Yeah.
How he progresses this year too. I mean, I think he's got really good stuff, and the setback hurt him, but he was another top-rated guy, and they shut him down. But he's expected to get promoted to Triple A shortly after Double A. Well, obviously, but he's not going to start in the majors this year. But I think at some point he might be there this year, and then Rodon too. A lot of people forget about Rodon. He went down last year, and he's probably going to be there at some point. June, July, August.
He'll be around mid-July. So kind of you could think about it. He's like a built-in trade deadline acquisition with the timing when he comes back. But I don't know if he'll be thrown back into the starting rotation, because his stuff in his game probably best translates to a Andrew Miller style bullpen guy. So we'll see how they want to handle him coming back. But like you said with Dunning, he was basically ready to start this year in AAA. They kind of dropped the ball with his surgery because he originally got hurt end of 2018, and they tried just waiting off to see if they could prevent the Tommy John surgery, and he didn't end up getting it until spring training, which was just a major setback. So now instead of having a Kopech timeline to return, being ready to go now, he's basically in the same boat as Rodon.
Yeah. And Rodon, man, think about that too. If he does in fact come back to the bullpen and not the rotation, I mean, now you're talking about a pretty formidable bullpen.
Yeah.
Because, I think this is the thing. And we'll get to our outlook on the season and predictions and all that. But I think if you have one of those two guys in the starting rotation as far as Kopech and Cisco, if one of those two have a really a breakout year, which Cease really showed. I mean, he's got the stuff. He's obviously, I know what he's got. He came from the Cubs, and I'm still salty about that trade. Don't talk to me about that right now. But we're not gonna get into that. But he obviously has the stuff, and he ended the season on a solid note last year, and maybe he can build on that. And if he or Kopech, like we said, if he doesn't start there, it'll be there. But if one of those two have a really, they really jump off the page as far as their progression goes, I think the Sox are going to have a special year because, we know what I think Giolito is going to duplicate. Maybe not, he'll be consistent. Maybe he won't have the downright, ace level stuff that he showed prior to the All-Star break. But I mean, we know he has the stuff for it, but I mean, he won't go on that run of like, wow, he's just laying everybody out. Maybe he doesn't do that, but maybe it's just steady all season. And if that's the case, then you have three guys that are going to be like that, and maybe four. And if you got Cease or Kopech doing that, yeah, this team's going to be special, and that's why I said I think it's going to come down to the starting pitching, but they have the potential to do that.
Yeah. To build on your point further and just talk about how important the acquisition of Grandal is. Last year, the White Sox pitch framing was among the worst of the league, having McCann and Castillo catching all these pitchers that have control issues. And I think hopefully not only Cease, but Reynaldo Lopez are going to both benefit greatly from having Grandal behind the plate catching their games, being able to get those extra strikes that they weren't able to get before, because I'm not sure how much of Cease games you watched. There was plenty of early inning games where he just threw so many balls that the pitch count got extremely high by the time it was in the fourth inning. So if he can eliminate those types of innings and be a solid 6-7 inning guy every start, yeah, like you said, the rotation does have the potential to be scary.
Yeah, definitely. I did. Yeah, I did watch a couple of his starts at least. I watched 3 or 4 of his starts, but I did notice that obviously with McCann, it's a big downgrade, and Grandal's going to steal. He's going to steal a lot of strikes for them, for the Sox, and it's a huge upgrade. But the thing with in Giolito, it sounds like it's going to be McCann that's going to be catching him.
Yeah,
McCann still going to stick with that.
Personal catcher.
Yeah, and that's fine though, because if you have a guy that's kind of developed like that now, or you would think that he's broken past, he's gotten past the developmental stage, is what it seems at least. Then why not stick him with somebody that he's comfortable with, if that's what kind of got him past that stage to begin with?
Exactly.
I'd be totally okay with that. Him taking the behind the plate every 5 days or whatever, just to catch him. But yeah, I think, like obviously, like we were talking about, it's going to come down with the pitching and all that. But as far as like guys to look out for the minors. You pretty much touched on all of them otherwise, and then there's some guys that maybe to look out for this year.
Oh,
like
one
Zach.
more touch on Tyler Johnson, who's a relief pitcher, going to be in AAA. He had shown great stuff all of last year. He was on Team USA for the Olympic qualifiers, I believe, but he's possibly another bullpen addition, but he doesn't have the excitement that all the other guys do, of course.
Yeah, that was one of the names I was going to mention was him and Zach Birdie, possibly. And then Ian Hamilton too. He got a little taste.
Yeah.
And that was in 2018.
And last year, Ian Hamilton probably had the worst luck I've ever heard from anyone. He missed most of the season, first due to a car accident, and then second, he got hit in the jaw from a line drive foul ball while sitting in the dugout. So he had to have surgery, and that cost him his entire 2019.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. It's not even a baseball injury, really. That's not normal. Like you can't, you can't call the guy injury prone for something like that.
Just terrible, terrible luck.
Yeah, that sucks. But yeah, those are guys that I think that can make an impact, with the bullpen too, for sure this year. And maybe before Rodon gets there, or I mean, I think the bullpen's really going to be. They have potential too, and that's the thing. I think I'm wavering on my whole prediction, my end of season record, and all that, because I could really see it going a couple of different ways.
Yeah.
But all positive as far as like, you're going to have some of those growing pains with these young kids. And just like last year with Eloy, I mean, you had the growing pains at the beginning. He really ended out the season very solid. I mean, his ex-WOBA, I think, was like 446 for his last 100 plate appearances. And I mean, the guy, and he went out, he still hit 31 bombs last season. I mean, so, and then you add a guy like Robert, who he's got stolen base upside along with the Gold Glove upside and power. I mean, I don't know. And you're going to have the growing pains with him too. So that's what I'm saying. Like, at least you would expect those growing pains. You're not going to get too many rookies that come out and just smash right away, like Pete Alonso, like Fernando Tatis Jr. before he got hurt. But he does have that potential to do that, though.
Yeah.
So
I think from talking to a couple of the guys that the Sox minor leagues in depth, what they've said is Robert's rookie year is probably going to be one of very high peaks and troughs, like similar to Moncada's first couple of years, just because he has a very, very aggressive plate approach. So you'll probably have him chasing a lot of balls outside of the zone at first. But once he gets able to adjust and develops the patience and the plate discipline necessary to succeed in the majors, watch out.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Moncada too. He made that adjustment last year and really took off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Moncada wasn't. Well, his problem was actually the opposite, though. He wasn't swinging enough. See, he was watching. Moncada would watch way too much, and he borderline pitches getting called strikes, and he was just overly too patient. But he had a terrific eye though too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. He actually had a terrific eye. He had a lot of pitches that were called strikes that weren't even strikes. But they were getting called strikes, and he was kind of unfortunate that way. And this past season, he was like, you know what, fuck that, I'm gonna swing earlier in the count.
Yeah, exactly.
And he did, and I mean, you see the results. I mean, the guy just killed it last season. He's one of the best third basemen, really, in all of baseball. And that's saying something, because look at the class of baseball right now as far as third baseman goes. I mean, we really have a great crop of third basemen all around the league. So, and Tim Anderson, I mean, it's not. He's going to swing and miss. He's not going to walk. Obviously, we know what he did with the batting average last year. So the best in the league, but I don't know. I don't see him duplicating that. I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't see him duplicating the batting average because of how erratic he is with wanting to swing so much and all that. But I still see him being a good hitter because we know that he can put the bat on the ball. It's just when you're swinging so much like that and not taking walks, it's almost like a Javier Baez in a sense, except he doesn't not as much power or flash, but he doesn't have the on base percentage. It's just a really good batting average, bat to ball ability.
Yeah. And watching him after he returned from his injury, it seemed like he kind of changed his game just to try and hit for average instead of trying for power and stealing bases like he used to before the injury. Because you could tell something was there when somebody would try and steal all the time and then had like 3 steal attempts the rest of the year.
Yeah, so definitely.
We'll see. Both him and Ricotta, you could probably expect some regression because they both had extremely high BABIPs, but unlike Anderson, Moncada has the peripherals to sustain a high BABIP, not the insane over 400 BABIP he had last year, of course, but something in the mid 300s to drop off mid to 90s, close to 300 hitter every year. And same with Eloy. He after adjusting, he hit like 290 the rest of the year. He is someone with the hit tool, the ability to hit 290 and above, 300. And he's probably going to be one of the most interesting people to watch on the team to see the sophomore jump he makes now that he's fully adjusted to the league and hopefully playing an entire season.
Yeah, he's going to be scary, I think. And like to your point with Moncada, I mean, yeah, his BABIP just always seems to be a little bit higher than it should. I mean, not higher than it should, but higher than most people's. And I think that's why it is sustainable for him, at least, because, I mean, his hard hit rate is like,
Same.
What was it, the 90th percentile, I think? Like him and the exit velo and just everything, the X wOBA, the X slugging, everything's up on him, and I think that's very maintainable. I think he could. I mean, not that is maintainable, but his BABIP, maybe it won't be 400 like like we were saying, but yeah, he's still gonna hit. Those baseballs are still gonna fall when you hit the ball that freaking hard. Guys just can't unless you hit it right at them. They're just not gonna get to it.
And just one more thing on the bullpen last year. While it was solid for the 3 guys at the back end, there was a lot of question marks in the guys like Josh Oshis, Juan Manaya, and all of those guys that sorry to go back to 2019. It's another stars and scrubs thing. Like if you were down in a game, you had no one you could really rely on to keep the game close. So that's why the Sox would lose a lot. But last year, I believe as of mid-September, they were 50-2 after leading after 6, 52-2 after 7, and 53-1 after 8. So the potential for the shutdown back end of the bullpen's there, something to build on for 2020. But like you said,
that's crazy.
Adding in the Tyler Johnsons, the Cisheks, hopefully it bounce back from Jace Fry. You'll have a complete bullpen, and Rodon too. Complete bullpen. Because as of right now, on paper, it looks good, but out of all the teams in the Central, top to bottom 26-man roster, they may not be the best team right now, but they definitely have the highest upside and ceiling of all 3 teams.
All 3 teams being what, the Indians and Twins? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're on the same page there. I think I just have the, I don't know how Alex feels, the other Alex, but I have the Indians taking a real step back this year, and I don't know. You lose the pitching that they did,
I
and
think
some of the,
they'll
some of- what's
be
that?
a lot better than people think. Losing Kluber when he pitched 30 innings last year with a 6 ERA isn't going to do that much. The
Yeah,
Indians
but
last year, they had
yeah,
like a worst case scenario season. Like Clevenger missed a third of the year. Ramirez was out most of the year and dealing with injuries when he was playing. They still have Lindor. And for people to be writing off the Indians is kind of premature, at least in my opinion. Because right now on paper, they're probably them and the Twins are a toss up for the best team. And just with the pitching advantage, I probably give the edge to the Indians. Of course, this all changes with a trade of Lindor, of course, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to write them off completely. Like don't. Yeah, that's definitely not what I mean. But I can see them taking a step back, I should say,
yeah.
which it's and it's more to do with obviously you got Lindor, you got Jose Ramirez, and that's great, and you have the pitching, the starting pitching is still going to be good with Clevenger, Bieber, those guys are still going to be good, so I shouldn't say that, but Bauer had he did have a down year all around last year before being moved too, but I don't know. It's just I don't think the thump even around those guys like Ramirez, Lindor, you got. I think they still have Franmil Reyes too, right? That's after the move. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see it being Mercado. I don't know. I feel like their thump is lacking compared
Yeah.
to the
Their
Twins
lineup,
and the Sox.
their lineup is definitely their weak spot, and the Twins and the Sox definitely both have a step above. But just I'm a big believer in you live and die with your pitching, and if I had to take any pitching staff as of right now in the Central, I'd probably take the Indians, but we'll see.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with Joey on that, though, with the, like, not totally writing them off, but I do think they will take a step back. Just like what he said with them not really having a thump anymore. I don't, especially in the lineup, they don't really have the hitting, especially if they, obviously if they trade Lindor, it's going to be nothing really. So, yeah, I'd say, yeah, I think the Twins are going to win the division still. And then I don't know. I can even see the White Sox finishing second and the Indians third. So
I think 85 as the roster is right now is exactly where they're at, and I think that's the realistic expectation. I'm not the type to be like, oh, after all these moves, oh, they're 100% going to the playoffs October 2020, or people that are just going, oh, this is going to be such a disappointment. They're the next Cleveland Browns, and that comparison shouldn't really apply when expectations should be 85 win team. I think this season coming, I looked at their schedule. I've been looking at the schedule. It comes down to how well they play in May and June, because in May and June they have probably the easiest stretch of games I've seen in a long time for this team. Starting with May, they got Baltimore, San Francisco, San Diego, Toronto, Colorado, Baltimore again, and then June is 13 games against the Royals and the Tigers. And if they do well in that stretch, I was looking at the Twins as well, while the Twins have a rough stretch in their schedule heading into July when trade deadline comes around. If Hahn adds, then maybe that expectation goes up. But as of right now, I think 85 wins is exactly where it is, where the expectation should be. But like I said, this team has a lot of upside and a lot of potential. So if everything goes right, you could see a breakout year like the 2015 Cubs or the Twins of last year. That's they just have a lot of variance. So 75 wins wouldn't surprise me as much as 95 wins.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Except I'm gonna be optimistic here.
Yeah.
I think they can, and like your prediction, I'm just gonna go one step over. I think they're gonna be 86 and 76. And last year, and they do have that feel of the 2015 Cubs, like a year just early. I have them finishing second in the division, surpassing the Indians, but just behind the Twins because I think their hitting is just a little bit more mature right now, even though they do have question marks with the starting pitching, in my opinion. I don't think they made enough moves there, but they do have some veterans and mixed in with some young guys that possibly could do something this year. So we'll see. But I do still think they'll take the division. But I think, and last year my predictions, I did the preview for the Scorecrow as well as the recap article. But I predicted them to be 73 and 89. And had it not been for a rainout, I would have been correct. So they finished 72 and 89, but there was a rainout that they didn't make up. I believe it was against the Royals, right?
It was the Tigers because
was the Tigers?
The only reason I remember it because for some reason last year the White Sox and the Tigers had the worst luck with rain and had like 5 or 6 games postponed throughout the year due to the rain.
Okay, that makes sense. They did have a game or two against the Royals too. I think it was a Brad Keller start or something. One of them. I don't know why I remember that, but I think I was watching the game. But yeah. So, but I do see them, taking that next leap and kind of being right there. I think they're going to take either the first or the second wild card. Probably the second wild card, I would assume, with that record. But yeah, I think they're gonna make the playoffs this year, and I don't. That is a little bit of wishful thinking, but I think it's very doable. And like I said, I think it's gonna come down to Kopech or Cease or both. How this team really takes off. Like you're gonna have the peaks and valleys, like you were talking about. We were talking about earlier with Robert. But I love what the Sox are doing with those extensions, and I think a lot of these organizations need to kind of follow their lead when it comes to these early extensions with these top prospects that you really don't feel like are going to bust. You have a very good gauge on them, when it comes to Robert, when it comes to Jimenez. That's one thing that I'm very happy with, seeing the game go that route. I love that. I think other teams need to follow that lead and just get these guys locked up early, and it benefits your team. It really benefits your team to do that, because then you can lock up these free agents that are expensive and get these guys to decent deals. I mean, look at the situation the Cubs are in now. I mean, on top of terrible contracts with Jason Hayward, with Tyler Chatwood, etc., taking up like 12% and 7% of the payroll. It's ridiculous, and he's the top paid guy, I believe, annually, Hayward. But you know, then now you're talking about trading Chris Bryant, and you don't know who you're going to extend with him and Baez, and we got to extend Baez. He's the fan favorite, and he's the flashiest, and it's a ridiculous situation, predicament to be in, and it's something the Sox will probably not have to deal with. What they'll have a decision to make on Mancata probably, but I don't think it's much of a decision, and they should be able to afford it.
Yeah.
But other teams need to follow this lead. But going back to the predictions, second wild card, first wild card, whatever, second in the division behind the Twins, and 86 and 76. I think maybe they can make a run in the playoffs. You never know, but you got to get there first. So I got them. I got them getting there.
Okay. For me, with the wild card, I'm not sure what to expect. I see second wild card is possible if the Astros do have like a post cheating scandal drop off, because I think the A's will win the West, and then one of the wild cards will be either Tampa, New York, whoever doesn't win the division there, and the second wild card most likely will come down to Sox or Astros.
Yeah, I could see that. Do you really think that the Astros are? I don't know. I'd still feel like they can challenge for that division, even though I really like what the Rangers have done too. But
Yeah,
I don't know. It's that division's going to be really interesting this year.
that's just the only scenario I can see them sneaking in with a wild card. For me personally, I think the best chance at the division is the best chance at the playoffs is through the division, just because there are so many other strong teams in the AL right now.
You know, it'd be crazy. I just thought of this. What if MLB suspended? Forget all the coaches' suspensions and all that. What if the MLB suspended the Astros for one season? They just didn't play one season, the entire team.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Oh, even there was somebody put out there like, what if they suspended, like they banned them from the playoffs? Like even if they were in position to make the playoffs, they gave it to like the third wild card team or something like that. That would be.
Now you're talking about reorganization of schedule too, but
Oh yeah.
with well, I guess with the banning them for the whole season. But yeah, what you said is crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying they should do that. I'm just that would be pretty crazy if they did.
Yeah. I don't think they'll do anything with the players just because of what's coming up next year. And Manfred, it's obvious that they're walking a fine line with the players involved with all this, because last thing they want to do is piss off the union right before CBA negotiations.
Yeah, definitely. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, but I could see the Astros missing the playoffs. I mean, because even the last couple of podcasts we talked about, me and Johnny and the other guests that were on, we all said the same thing. They can, with all this going on,
it's just distraction.
It's gonna be distraction. It's gonna be.
Yeah, that's true. And they don't even have a manager right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
No,
they don't. They still haven't. Yeah, it's just crazy. We're talking what, 25 days till pitchers and catchers report, or what?
I think it's like 23.
23 now. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it was just the other day when I actually saw what, the countdown. But fuck, man, this is a lot. This is guys in your face all the time. I mean, you got guys like Bregman who maybe just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, he gives off that vibe like, I don't know, whatever, like smiling about it. But it's turmoil inside the locker room, I'm sure. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I could see them missing the playoffs, I guess. I don't know. I feel like there's still, for some reason, I think the talent takes over.
Yeah.
And you just got too many guys that, regardless of the cheating and the not cheating and all that, I mean, these guys are still uber talented.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Bregman, Altuve, Springer, Correa, and that's the thing. And Gurriel, that team doesn't even need to cheat. That's what's so fucked up about it. That's what pisses me off so much. The team does not need to cheat. They are good by themselves. And I mean, everybody, and that's what we all thought, obviously, is that they weren't doing it to begin with. But until the reports came out and, you see video on it and all that, but it's a bad look. It's a really bad look for baseball.
No. But here's another prediction to throw in there. I think the Astros are going to lead the league in hit by pitches.
Yeah.
Literally everyone's going to be like beaten for their heads.
Yeah. Who came out and said that? Was it Bauer or somebody said that?
I don't know. It sounds like something Bauer would say. Or
yeah, I don't know if it was Bauer though. It might have been. I don't remember.
But That sucks though. The Reds don't even play the Astros, so you can't even see that.
Oh fuck.
But Mike
He'll-
Clevenger was saying all this shit too. So
He's gonna beat him in spring training. If they play him, I don't know.
I don't know if they play. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying too. I wish CC Sabathia was still on the Yankee. Like he still didn't retire, or he should just come back for this season just to bean guys on the Astros.
Just a designated bean machine.
Yeah.
That'd be. I would watch that. I would tune in just for that. Not because I want guys to get hit. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not for that. I'm not. I've never really been a part of that whole. Like hit the guy, whatever. Like, but also on the flip side of that, I mean, you're talking about an amateur player compared to a professional player, but so the mile per hour difference is huge. But when I got hit, I didn't give a shit. Like even 2 years ago when I was getting hit by fastballs, like I know that the speed difference is tremendous, but I'm just like, take my base. Like it only hurts for a second. It's not that bad. If you're getting hit in the head, that's one thing though. That's a different story. I don't think anybody should really be drilling any of them in the head.
Yeah.
Like let's get that, hit them in the middle of the back, whatever. That to me that's different. I don't care. Like I'm not saying guys should get drilled all the time for flipping their bat. Nothing like that. Like that stuff's stupid. Like that's the old written rules or unwritten rules that don't make sense to me. But when you talk about like stuff like this and scandals and you're making everybody in baseball look pathetic and like it's embarrassing, then fine, drill them in the back. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to hit him in the head, but you hit him in the back. Give him a 98 mile per hour heater right in the back. You can control that. You can do it. You're a professional.
There's an idea for a new All-Star festivity. Just line up the Astros and have all the All-Stars hit them.
So the home run derby, they got the Astros hit-a-thon. Like we're gonna,
Yeah.
It's like the reverse of like the bat-a-thon when we were kids. Like we used to do the bat-a-thon, but it's the hit-a-thon. You're just gonna hit them.
Yeah, I'm also kind of excited to see just the reception they get on the road everywhere. Probably getting booed out of the building, especially Altuve and Bregman.
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium's gonna be the worst. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to go to one of those games.
I was gonna say you better have like a front row. You're probably gonna have a front row seat.
I'm gonna like wear a trash can.
Yeah. I mean, intrigued if a team does a trash can giveaway too.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that one of the Yankees minor league teams has that like September. I think it was the Trenton Thunder.
They have what?
Like a mini trash can giveaway.
Are you serious? Why? What's that for their bathroom? What? A mini trash can give? Oh, I get it. They're fucking with the. It's just for the yeah. Are they playing the minor league Astros team?
Minor league Astros, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's fucking terrific.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Imagine,
I would pay money to go to that and just to see everybody's reaction behind it.
yeah. Imagine if like they had a giveaway for that at like that Yankee Stadium, and then all the fans just started throwing them at the freaking Astros players.
They're just being like throwing little mini trash cans everywhere.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty messed up. I think a lot of people would be getting kicked out, but
Yeah.
hey, it's dollar dog night. Who cares?
Dollar beer night. That would be.
Oh yeah.
That would
Who
definitely
cares
be-
about the dogs? I want the beers.
Everybody's just drunk and throwing mini trash cans.
Hopefully they put What if they put their beer in the trash can, then they throw
Oh shit.
it? Okay, we went way off
Yeah.
left.
Too much pot tar.
way too much pod tar.
Moving forward, 2020 is probably going to be the last year where the Sox aren't expected to win the division. Next off season is going to be interesting to see because I'm sure the goal of next off season will be one, extending Moncada, getting your window longer, and two, all the finishing pieces for a possibly World Series contending roster. But they go after as far as to compete with the Yankees and all the other powerhouses in the AL. But fun times ahead for the White Sox and many others.
Yeah, I agree with that. Who's gonna be? Do you know off the top of your head, either one of you guys, who I've looked into it in the past, but right now I'm just drawing a blank. What pitchers are available in 2021, like that
Stroke,
off season?
There's
Paxton,
Sin,
Tanaka,
yeah, Tanaka. I don't think of other ones.
I'm sorry,
Robbie,
I didn't hear the first two that
Stro-
the other Alex said.
Stroman, Tanaka, Paxton, Bauer, Quintana, Robbie Ray, John Gray, just off of my head. I think
Damn.
I've seen a
Well, that's a
couple.
pretty good list, but the
Yeah.
affordable guys too. I mean, you would think if they don't have like crazy breakout years this year.
I think with Paxton and Tanaka, I think the Yankees are going to end up extending it like one of them. I'd probably say if I had to say, I'd probably say Paxton.
Or I would, if I were you, I would want Paxton too.
Yeah.
Over and Paxton, he was pretty up and down this past year, but he's got more of that dominance in him.
Yeah.
I think that Tanaka does. You know what I mean?
Right.
He can take over, and he's still pretty damn good.
Yeah, definitely.
For you guys last year, even. But no, I don't know. Like, if you had to pick one area of need, I would say right field. For the coming year, but and this is always a possibility with like the injuries and stuff with Rodon, Dunning, Kopech, the list goes on. I could see a scenario where maybe both these guys don't break out or don't show signs of breaking out, and you want to make a move in the rotation. I could see that being a possibility too.
Yeah.
For 2021 at least. I don't know why we're looking so far ahead, but
Oh, yeah. For me, I think they're gonna try and pursue Betts and Springer. We'll see what happens there, but I think if Mazzara doesn't do well, the best option, the most realistic option for them will probably be Jock Peterson for the outfield, and then all the position player free agents, all the big names are in the outfield because I expect Real Muto to get extended, so I'm not counting him. But it's kind of actually a weak free agent class next year, outside of the pitchers.
I thought that Peterson had potential to be moved this offseason, which he still does, I guess, technically, but still in the offseason. But I mean,
I think
I don't know. I thought that was rumored. Maybe it's just not gonna happen. It doesn't seem like now.
So yeah, I'm sure the Dodgers have a pretty high asking price for him, and most teams don't want to fork over prospects for 1 year of control of a guy that's more or less, even though he's really good as a platoon player, he's mainly a platoon player in the outfield.
Right. He had one of his better seasons this past season, though.
Yeah.
I think it was I want to say from a power output and average wise, right? This last year.
So yeah. So let me look. Yeah, it was his best, second best offensive season, with the best one coming in 2016.
Yeah, so I mean, and there's definite value in that. I mean, damn, he had a really big spike in home runs too.
Yeah.
He hit the 10 more home runs than he's ever hit. I mean, it could be chalked up to juice ball too, but
Mm.
you have to look at like his X slugging and
And
stuff.
I'm on his splits right now. So going back to the platoon thing, he hit all 36 of his home runs against right-handers.
All 36?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Are you kidding me?
Nope.
Holy
God damn.
wow.
He had 11 hits all year against a left-hander.
That is like brutally bad. Yeah, he's I mean, we knew he wasn't good against lefties, but I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, I didn't realize it either. Jesus.
0 home runs against. Well, he had like 0 at bats though too. I guess 50 at bats or 49 at bats. They really used him as a platoon.
Smart on their part.
Yeah, I mean, if you know a guy is terrible at it, why use him that way as a regular? Wouldn't
Yeah.
make any sense. But this year's going to be different,
Yeah.
with that new rule. It's going to be weird.
Yeah. I think in the AL, it's going to be the biggest difference because now you can use. I think pinch hitters are going to be used a lot more than they were before. Because in the National League, you always had the pinch hitters hitting for the pitchers. But in the AL, now you can just basically have guys on the bench specifically to come in and pinch hit whenever someone brings in a reliever.
Right.
Yeah, and that would go directly. That would directly affect Mazzara too.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I wonder if that rule sticks or not.
I don't know.
How do you guys feel about that though? Do you like the rule, or you kind of like wait and see?
I will wait and see.
Yeah, I can't really say anything bad about it right now until I see it actually on the field. Like,
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I don't hate it, the idea of it, because I think too many times that, I mean, you just think of it from a kid's perspective, I guess. Like a kid, like there's so many changes happening every minute, and they just get bored and they just want to go play for themselves. If that's the demographic that you're going for, you're trying to build the game. And Manfred, I give him props for this, for trying to do things like this. Like that will take away a lot of it. Kids have short attention spans as it is. So I give him props for at least attempting it to speed up the game in that regard, or keep attention at a high. But yeah, I mean, wait and see, I guess, because it does take away some of the strategy, but it also might add some strategy as well. So it's really interesting. Yeah, it's like it could go both ways. Even in the playoffs, I think I'm really interested to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
especially the teams that like go heavy on using like lefty specialists. Like, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Like, some teams could get stuck in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jace Fry all of a sudden becomes like they don't want, you might not be using him very much, depending on what the lineup is constructed like on the opposite side. If he remains a heavy splits guy, I'm pertaining this back to the White Sox, I guess, because that's the whole point of this podcast. But uh, yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. I'm in the same boat as you guys.
It's the one rule I really hope they don't end up doing is the like adding a pitch clock. That would really piss me off. They did a pitch clock.
Yeah, I don't think I like that either. Not, and it's well. See, here's the thing. Do I think guys need to take a full fucking minute before they pitch? No. But there is something to be said about high pressure situations and a guy maybe feeling like he's losing it and like, okay, maybe he's got a high, his heart rate's bouncing. All right, let me settle myself down for a second. I'm going to take a walk around the mound, pick up this rosin bag, take a deep breath. Okay, let's get it. You know what I mean? There's something to be said about that too, where I think it's not just delaying the game, and that's why I think the pitch clock. Like I agree with you. I'm not really for the pitch clock necessarily, unless it's like the guy just does it as a routine. Like I don't like the guys that, and I mean I play with guys like that too, that just this one guy on our team. I mean he literally just takes forever, just like every time. And that's just a style that he pitches. And it's like, I understand it now. Like, I'm not like criticizing the guy, but at the same time, as like an outsider or even as a player, it's like, damn, dude, I just want to play baseball. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Or I just want to watch baseball, like, so, but I'm not really on board with the pitch clock necessarily either.
Thank you for having me, of course. It was a great discussion. If anyone ever wants to talk about anything White Sox related, I'm on Twitter. My handle is @aroot8. Feel free to reach out with whatever. Thank you for having me once again.
Yeah, of course. And you're always welcome again at some other time during the season or whatever.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have a good night, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex.
Have a good night.
It was nice talking to you guys, and yeah, man. Well, you know where to find me, but I don't know if everybody else does, so I'll just say it. At the Riot 326, and then no, I'm not a huge Ryan Terrio fan, but that's just my Twitter handle. But yeah, just always writing stuff with the Scorecrow, and I'm just happy to be on a podcast it's been a while, so
yeah,
it's just fun talking baseball. I don't even care. We could talk about any team, but I figured I'd better get on the White Sox one because I want to do the preview for that and try to maintain the teams that I like keep up with the most. Or so yeah, man. I appreciate it, like always. Always thank you for having me.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'll do it for this podcast. Make sure you check all the episodes that we've done for the 30 teams and 30 pods anywhere you can find podcasts, and be on the lookout for the rest of the teams as we get closer to pitchers and catchers reporting. Or just a little over 20 days to go until they start reporting. I believe like February 10th is when some teams start reporting to spring to camp. So that'll be definitely exciting to look forward to. And as we go through the season, I know you and Johnny have a DFS pod planned, so that'll be exciting too. And with all our articles on the Scorecrow with the previews and stuff like that, so that'll be stuff to look out for. And yeah, just follow the Scorecrow at the Scorecrow, myself at Alex Keeler, and YouTube as well. The Scorecrow is on YouTube. That's where the DFS pod's going to be at for Johnny and Joey. So yeah, you never have too much pod tar.